Our next speaker is Gil Smart. Yes, so beautiful. Thank you indeed. Gil is Vote Water Executive Director with more than 3 decades of experience as a high-profile newspaper columnist and investigative reporter. Gil's a longtime champion of environmental causes who began work as Friends of the Everglades Policy Director in March of 2021 and was named head of Vote Water 8 months later. From 2015 to 2021, he worked as a columnist and editorial writer for TC Palm and Treasure Coast newspapers in Florida. Following a 21-year career as a columnist, editor, investigative reporter, blogger, and video blogger at Lancaster newspapers in his native Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and 5 years as a community newspaper editor and writer in Pittsburgh. Gil, thank you very much for being here. The floor is yours.
Thanks for having me, Joe. So my organization, Vote Water, is based out of Stewart. And we're dedicated to the notion that Florida's water problems are political, ultimately a political problem, and it requires a political solution. We look to support clean water candidates and oppose dirty water candidates. But what if there aren't any clean water candidates? Or more likely, what if the good candidates out there who back good proposals, who back good policies, get snowed under because their opponents are being financed by the polluting industries, like the sugar industry, like the phosphate mining industry, like the sprawl industry? That is the reality of politics in Florida, and it's why movements like our own, have such a hard time gaining traction in Tallahassee. We're outgunned, we're outspent. The polluting industries, frankly, run the table. We were curious. So last year we looked up how many lobbyists the sugar industry employ in Tallahassee. We counted 50. So the Big Sugar's got 50 lobbyists in Tallahassee. How many lobbyists do environmental organizations have? Far fewer, okay? If you don't have clean water candidates, you're not gonna get clean water policies. And as a result, we see every single year, every single legislative session, damaging policies coming down from Tallahassee, many of which are signed into law. At the top of the hour, Joe talked about one of the worst bills, a pair of bills to come out of Tallahassee this year. This is House Bill 1197 and Senate Bill 1240. It's called Land and Water Management. We're calling this the Dirty Water Act, okay? This preempts the right of local communities, cities, and counties to pass their own rules when it comes to water quality, water quantity, pollution control, wetlands, including wetland delineation. All of that would be preempted to the state. And it would undermine a lot of what's already going on out there. Again, I'm speaking to you from Martin County, Florida, which has a very strict a wetlands ordinance. Basically, we don't permit the destructions of wetlands. If this bill becomes law, that's going away. We will permit the destruction of wetlands. A very simple question about these bills has to do with fertilizer ordinances. This is a very simple thing, right? A lot of counties have fertilizer ordinances where they prohibit the use or certain applications of fertilizer certain times of the year. The way this bill is written, those would go away. Counties would not have the right to pass even the simplest of measures to do something about water quality, okay? This is the mentality we see out of Tallahassee year after year after year. And the mentality seems to be, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, these people like us are just making a big deal out of nothing. It's fine. Everyone on this call can attest to the fact that it's not fine, okay? So what do you do when when the other side is running the table like this? What do you do when they're outgunning you? What do you do when the special interests run the show? Well, you can't play that game anymore, right? We're committed to, continuing to work for political solutions and back good, better candidates who hopefully are going to have better policies. But the ultimate reality here is, at the end of the day, we've been doing that. You've been doing that. Every organization on this call has been doing that. And as we've heard from most of the speakers preceding me, it's gone nowhere. And we're at sort of a crossroads here. We can't keep doing this to Florida's waters. There's going to come a time when they don't bounce back, okay? We've already lost all sorts of revenue. We've already lost all sorts of habitat. We've already caused ourselves so many problems. This year could be a case in point with a very bad red tide, as Paul just said, on the west coast. The threat of a major blue-green algae bloom on Lake Okeechobee this year, both federal and state water managers are predicting that. The possibility that algae is going to be flushed our way in the St. Lucie canal, and that we'll have another summer of slime as we did in 2013, 2016, 2018. The threat of environmental crisis, of environmental catastrophe continually hangs over our head. and it's because our politicians won't do anything. Enough. All right. Now's the time for a different approach. Now's the time for the constitutional. Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Gil.